was?
Well, no, we're not traveling for the holidays, but we are actually hoping to go to Japan in March.
Oh,
So,
cool, nice.
yeah, looking forward to that. I'm really excited, actually.
Yeah.
I love all things Japanese in terms of food, so
Yeah.
I think it will be a very nice culinary experience for
That
us.
was my thing.
Yeah.
Sounds great. I'd like to make it over there sometime.
Yeah, it's supposed to be beautiful. And if we're lucky, we may be able to catch a couple of days of skiing.
Yeah.
Wow, very nice. Well, welcome everyone to this evening's Ask Portland Clinic live chat. My name is Chris Benware, and tonight we're joined by our special guests, Kris Anderson, Executive Director, and Dr. Janson Holm, Board Chair from the Portland Clinic Foundation. 'Tis the season of giving, and we want to take this opportunity to learn more about the foundation, its missions, and how you can get involved in spreading the wealth of wellness in our community. Kris, Dr. Holm, it's great to have you with us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit about the history of the Portland Clinic? How was it formed?
Well, the Portland Clinic's history goes back 100 years. The Portland Clinic Foundation goes back to about 1963, when a grateful patient bequeathed a sum of money to the clinic, I think as a way of saying thanks in her will. And at that point in time, the partners of the clinic then decided to start up this small foundation. And it has been more or less dormant since then, until about 2015.
Yeah, so I got involved around that time. In 2015, an executive board was formed, and the foundation was kind of brought out of that dormant state and brought to life. And we've had a lot of progress since 2015. This year in June, we released our first round of grants to nonprofits in the greater Portland area. So it's building momentum. We're excited about the work that's being done.
Wow, very good. So how's the foundation set up?
So the foundation is set up as a wholly independent 501c3 nonprofit. The clinic, our affiliation with the clinic is that the clinic pays for our operating and administrative expenses. But we are a totally independent organization, and we exist to make grants to nonprofits across the greater Portland community.
Okay. So what's the mission of the foundation?
The mission of the foundation, we kind of define it as advancing or improving community wellness, advancing social determinants of health, and trying to do that through evidence-based and results-driven philanthropy. So, that can take on a lot of different meanings, but, the overall mission is to improve the wellness of our community, the community we love here in Portland.
Sure. So how's the Portland Clinic Foundation different from the Portland Clinic?
Well, as Kris mentioned, we're kind of a distinct entity. The clinic itself is a for-profit organization that has been around the Portland area for a long time. It's ingrained in the community. And the foundation is a nonprofit that functions separate from the Portland Clinic. And again, in our goals to advance community wellness and kind of reach the needs of the community that are less medical, but still important to overall wellness.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of altruistic people who have been working at the Portland Clinic, and a lot of patients who've expressed a desire to give back to the community. We really wanted to tap into that potential, so I think that's one of the reasons why the foundation was rejuvenated.
Sure. So if I'm with a nonprofit and I want to apply for a grant, how do I go about doing that, and what are some of the requirements?
Well, we have a website that we're going to post links for. You go to that website first, and it'll kind of detail the process there. The applications are currently closed, but they will open in February. They'll be open for 7 weeks, and during that time, nonprofit organizations in the greater Portland area, the kind of tri-county metro area, can certainly make an application. Some of the restrictions are all listed on there. We won't go into detail with those now, but all the information you'll need is on the website.
Okay.
And we encourage everyone to spread the word. If you know of a nonprofit that is in need, that kind of fits the bill, we'd love to have their application.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk about some of the successes and highlights from 2017. How did the foundation choose its grantees in 2017?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the executive board for the foundation was put together in 2015, and from that executive board, a grant-making task force was formed. And I should mention the board itself. We've made really painstaking efforts to include an array of different backgrounds, make it a very diverse board. And we're proud of that the board itself is very diverse and inclusive. So within that group of the executive board, the grant making task force spent days and hours upon hours and days upon days of reviewing a total of 44 applications for grants in our first year, and ultimately narrowed it down to 16 that were awarded grant money. But that's the real strength of this foundation, is that there's a really painstaking process for selecting the grant recipients, and it takes the work off of the average person that would like their money to go to a good cause.
Okay. So how much money was donated to this year's grantees? And are there other non-monetary ways that people can contribute?
Well, so in that grant application process, a total of $201,000 were requested from those 44 grant applicants. We awarded $30,000, and we're proud of the results that have come from that $30,000, but it illustrates the great need in the Portland area. There's so many good groups that are doing good work that are in great need. And the second part of your question was, how can
what about outside of monetary donations?
Outside of monetary, yeah. The clinic has had some efforts to provide volunteer services for some of the nonprofits that we've granted to, and that's certainly in our goals to provide more of those non-monetary donations to these groups that are in need.
Okay. So are there any type of grant priorities?
Yes. So part of the grant making task force's goals and mission is to really think creatively about how we can use our grants to greatest impact. And so we arrived at a few kind of key priorities. One is to make sure that we're reaching communities that have been underserved by bigger, more established grant makers. That means both geographically and culturally. And we also are really trying to keep our application process accessible as a means of reaching those communities and a means of helping organizations and people that may feel underserved. So, and I think I would also say that because we're giving out small grants, our grants range from $500 to $5,000 right now. We tend to prioritize smaller organizations because we feel like their smaller budget would be able to leverage our grant to greater impact and to fill more needs there. Okay.
Could you touch a little bit on the difference between systemic change and frontline services?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great point. And that's one of our priorities as well. So we're really trying to span the span of breadth of organizations. We, on the one hand, support a lot of frontline service providers, and on the other hand, we're also really trying to work upstream from urgent needs and support organizations that are researching and advocating for and promoting more lasting and permanent social changes, be that through legislation or through research.
Okay. So what kind of work is the foundation doing that would be considered on the cutting edge of modern philanthropy?
We're really proud about where we've landed as a baby, brand new foundation, brand new old foundation, I guess I should say. Our grant making task force did a whole lot of research before we ever opened up our application process. So we spent several months reading and conducting interviews with some of the Portland area's most prominent foundation heads. So from the Miller Foundation and MRG Foundation and Northwest Health Foundation and several others, Community Foundation. And we really wanted to learn from their experience and, hear about what directions they're heading in and what mistakes they've made, and really try to acquire that best practice knowledge before we launched our grants program. And so out of that process, we came to the conclusion that we could best serve our community by offering what we call unrestricted, or sometimes it's called general operating funding, and by creating a very accessible, straightforward application process so that we can reach out to more organizations in need.
Okay. How about accessible grant applications? How do you make them accessible?
Well, the application itself is just very straightforward. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take long to fill out. We really wanted to make sure that the application wouldn't be intimidating for an organization that doesn't maybe necessarily have a professional grant writer on staff. And so the goal is that, the less time they spend filling out this application, the more time a nonprofit can spend doing the work that their mission is committing them to. What that means, though, is that in order to retain a robust evaluative process, we do a lot of work on the back end. So we're doing a lot of research about these organizations, and we're doing a lot of kind of analysis to ensure that the organizations that have applied to us and that receive grants from us are the most impactful.
Okay. So I'm curious about a term you mentioned, unrestricted funding.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give some more examples about what unrestricted funding can be used for, and is there anything that it cannot be used for?
Sure. Well, I'll answer the second part first.
Okay.
Our website has a clear list of types of projects that we can't fund: scholarships, endowments, schools, social clubs, things like that. But otherwise, unrestricted funding is pretty amazing. The point of unrestricted funding is to place our trust in the nonprofit community. And so if an organization has passed through our analysis, and if we've done our due diligence on an organization, decided to grant to them, that means that we can trust them to spend the funds as they best need. So unrestricted funding basically means just that, unrestricted. A lot of people talk about unrestricted funding as trying to strengthen the trunk of a tree, whereas program support or program funding, which is what a lot of more established foundations lean towards, just kind of funds the tree branches.
Okay, it's a great analogy. So if you're just joining us, we're here with Kris Anderson and Dr. Janson Holm from the Portland Clinic Foundation. You can comment or tweet us your live questions using the hashtag AskPortlandClinic, and we'll do our best to get to them during this broadcast. So now I'd like to hear some of the success stories about specific organizations in 2017. Could you share some of those with us?
Sure, yeah. I'll share a couple of my favorites. One is a group, a nonprofit out in Tigard. It's called the Good Neighbor Center. It's close to the clinic that I practice out of. And they're a group that provides temporary housing for people when they are down on their luck and unable to have a roof over their heads. So one of the stories that came from the grant that we provided to the Good Neighbor Center was a family of four, two young kids, and fell on hard times, didn't have a place to stay. And so the Good Neighbor Center and the good work they do took them in for about 6 weeks while they were getting back on their feet. It was at a particularly critical time because the mom was pregnant around the time that they fell on hard luck. Through the work of the Good Neighbor Center, they were, not only had a place to stay, but they were able to fill out necessary applications and qualify for housing. And the grant that we provided to the Good Neighbor Center was used directly for the fees with their application. So they were able to reestablish a roof over their heads, and the baby came safely and in a healthy manner about 2 weeks after they got into this housing.
Wow.
So that's a good example of the money that we granted being used at a critical juncture for a family and being critical to their overall wellness in having a sheltered place to stay.
Okay.
So that's one of my favorite ones because it hits close to home. It's right next to where I practice out of. Another one that hits close to home for me is Chelsea's Closet, and this was a great group, a great nonprofit that provides costumes for kids while they're undergoing medical care. And that sounds kind of funny at first, but the work that they do is really great for these kids. When kids are in risky situations, when they have a diagnosis that can be life-threatening, it has a big impact on the family and of course on the kids. Chelsea's Closet makes their treatments more fun and lets them be kids while they go through treatment. The grant that we provided to Chelsea's Closet helped them set up a space to keep some of their costumes at Randall Children's Hospital of Manual. And one of the stories that I like that came out of there, a 4-year-old boy with a leukemia diagnosis, one of his family members had requested that Chelsea's Closets look into finding ninja costumes for him and his brother. And these, 2 boys in ninja costumes in the halls of the hospital kind of transformed it from a time of worry and stress and unknown for a family and for this kid to an enjoyable time with his brother. And that's really what these kids need, is they just need to be kids and not patients.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like an impactful organization. Yeah. You had mentioned, Kris, the growing garden.
That's a great story. So I don't know if the audience is familiar with Growing Gardens, but they do really great work to provide affordable, low-income and communities of color with free access to community gardens and with educational opportunities about how to maintain a garden and plant a garden and eat nutritiously. So it's a really great example of an organization that's, providing a frontline service and providing people with affordable, healthy food, but also really kind of working upstream from that and teaching the skills needed to maintain that level of nutrition and just kind of improve community health more broadly. Another one of my favorites is the Refugee Resettlement Services, which is run through Catholic Charities. And every time I think about them, I just get a little frog in my throat. They do just amazing work, and they're helping literally some of the world's most at-risk and vulnerable people. They will meet arriving refugees at the airport and then shepherd them through the next few months of their new life in America. Everything from teaching them how to catch a bus or pay a bill to providing basic kitchenware and beds. Our grant for them went to provide 10 new arriving refugees with beds and also to support their multi-week orientation program. So we're really just proud of that and really happy to be affiliated with that program. Another one I wanted to mention was the Coalition of Communities of Color, which goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier about how we're trying to support organizations that also work for systemic change. So the Coalition for Communities of Color is a research and policy advocacy organization that commissions research studies that are supposed to inform the work of governments and legislators and other nonprofits as tools to chip away at systemic inequities and prejudice. So they're a really great organization and are really having a lasting, permanent impact on Oregon society.
Wow, sounds like it. So how about the Clackamas Service Center?
Clackamas Service Center was one of the grant recipients in this cycle, and they're in an area that we were able to kind of identify that they filled a really great need where there wasn't a lot of other options for people to receive help, and they supply it. So they were one of our grant recipients, but they, as a group, as a nonprofit, also fell on hard times when they had a fire in their facility over the summer. So not only were they grant recipients, which is the important part of the work that we do, but because they fell on hard times shortly after we awarded them the grant, there was a kind of a grassroots effort within the Portland Clinic amongst the employees to generate a drive for supplies to replenish what they had lost with the fire. And so through the donations of the employees of the Portland Clinic, we were able to put together what we calculated to be 60 cubic feet of hygiene supplies to replenish their stock. And we're able to help them kind of get back on their feet as a nonprofit that was also in need at a critical time.
They serve a really vulnerable population. As Janson noted, there aren't a lot of service organizations out in Clackamas, and they cater mostly for homeless and low-income people. So these hygiene products went to restock their mobile shower unit. So I know that a lot of people in the neighborhood were really happy to receive those.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure. Yeah, these are all sound like amazing organizations. So I'd like to ask you a little bit about why people should donate, but first on a personal note, why are you two involved with this organization?
So as I mentioned, I became involved around 2015 as the foundation was brought back to life, the executive board was formed. And I think I'm like most people that want to help my fellow community members, those that are in need. I want to help them, but it's hard to know how. And you don't have to go far to see some of those needs in the community. we were, as a family, downtown this weekend, and just stepped off the Max at Pioneer Square and walked into the middle of the holiday tuba concert. And just the square was full of tubas, and my kids were just in awe at the sound of this chorus of tubas. And my daughter said, "I love Portland, Dad," and I said, "I agree. You know, this is our home, this is our community." But also, you know, you don't have to spend a lot of time walking around downtown before you see some of those needs. And so we love our community. I love our community, and this is a way to give back. It's a way to give back meaningfully, as we've kind of tried to express here. The work is done by the executive board to isolate those nonprofits that are going to perform the greatest work to improve the wellness of our community. And so it's a way for me as a physician and surgeon to assist in improving wellness in areas that I can't in my own practice.
How about you, Kris?
Well, except for the part about being a doctor, I totally agree with everything that Janson just said. You know, I am an employee of the foundation, but I'm also a donor to it, and that's because I find that the work that we're doing, however modest our means right now, we've already seen the impact that it's having, and it fills me with pride and with, honestly, humility. If those aren't too contradictory, I think that it's really a privilege to work with these organizations and to see the good work that they're doing in the community, and to help however modestly we can to support their goals. And I also have to say, on a personal note, there's just a lot of darkness and divisiveness out there in the world right now, and you know, it's been a very fractured few months, and I feel like the work we're doing is helping to chip away at some of that darkness, and it makes me feel a little bit better about the world to be able to help these pretty amazing organizations, and these organizations that are actively working to build community and to, you know, provide services to the most vulnerable in our society, and I think that's really important work.
Absolutely. So it's the end of the year, and of course, giving is top of mind. How can somebody donate to the Portland Clinic Foundation? In-kind donation, volunteering?
Yeah, there are lots of different ways to give to the Portland Clinic Foundation. In-kind donations are always accepted. Right now, I should say very soon, we will be launching a in-kind goods drive for refugee resettlement services. So we will be collecting new sheets and new towels at all of the Portland Clinic's branches. So if you have you know, a few dollars to spare, head down to Target and grab an extra sheet set. That would be really wonderful, and drop it by. In January, we'll be launching an in-kind goods drive for Community Warehouse, where we'll be collecting small household goods. And throughout the year, we'll have various in-kind goods drives that are meant to provide extra support to our grantees and to other nonprofits across the community. If you'd like to volunteer, we can direct you to volunteer opportunities with our grantee organizations. And we also have some in-house volunteer needs. We have a board of directors. We're always looking for new members. We have committees within that board that we're always recruiting for new members for too. So if you'd like to get involved with our efforts, we would absolutely love to hear from you. And I have to say, you know, it's the end of the year, and we can't do our grant making work without help from the community. So if you have funds that you could donate, however modest, we would be very grateful for your donation, because we're really trying to respond to the amount of need that we've seen in the community. Janson mentioned that there were $201,000 in requests that we received last year, and we could fund $30,000 of that. With your help, hopefully we can up the ante and donate more as we go forward, but we really do need your contributions of any sort, be it cash, check, online donation through our website, your car, stocks, you know,
Well,
you name it.
And I think you had mentioned that maybe there would be a tax deduction if people still
Sure.
donated in
Yeah,
2017.
absolutely. I mean, this is a great time of year to think about your end of year giving. Donations to the foundation are 100% tax deductible, so we would hope that you would consult your financial planner and consider sending something our way, because I can assure you that it would go to good use.
That's huge. So I think people always kind of wonder when they give to a charitable organization, how much of that money is actually going to the grantees?
This is the neat thing for me, where I am a partner in the Portland Clinic, the group of doctors that form the Portland Clinic. The clinic has graciously agreed to provide most of the all of the operating costs of the foundation. So the foundation is lucky to have that, because all of the donation that we receive goes 100% into the work that we're doing. So any money you give, every cent is going to go out into the community, into these great nonprofits that are in the trenches, that are meeting the needs and improving the overall wellness of our community.
That's amazing. I think it's hard to find an organization that can give so much back. So why should someone donate to the Portland Clinic Foundation instead of a specific or an individual charity?
Well, there are a couple of good answers for that, I think. For one thing, we do the evaluative work for you. There are over 16,000 nonprofits in Oregon, and it can be really hard to figure out which ones are actually impactful and do, useful work and will steward your gift wisely. We take the uncertainty out of the equation for you. So by donating to the Portland Clinic Foundation, you can be assured that your gift will go a long way with a really impactful, amazing, essential organization. And I think the other part of that is that by giving to the Portland Clinic Foundation, your donation will be pooled with others' donations so that we can give at a higher level and grant for bigger impact. So by giving to the Portland Clinic Foundation, we can help ensure that the nonprofits who have gone through our rigorous grant screening and who receive grants from us have a bigger chunk of change to do their good work with.
Okay. That, and it's good for your health. So there are peer-reviewed studies that have found that giving is good for your overall health, improves your blood pressure, your risk for depression and heart disease, and all those kind of things. So selfishly, giving is good for you.
So you could not go to the gym and give to us. Right.
You might be okay. I think you would.
Maybe.
So it sounds like the foundation's got a lot of stuff in the works. What are some of the goals for 2018?
I think for 2018, our goal is to just be bigger and better. We've done a lot of great groundbreaking work in our first year of providing grants to these nonprofits, and we want to do more of that. So we want to give more. We want to attract more grant applicants and discover these nonprofits that are doing great work and try to support them in a meaningful way.
Sure. So where can someone find more information? On the website, social media, where do they go?
There are a few different resources for you. You can always check the Portland Clinic's Facebook page, which does have some limited resources about the foundation. You can also visit our website, which will be posted as a link to this chat, I believe. And through our website, you can learn all about how to apply for a grant, our grant-making priorities, our mission and vision, how to donate, types of donations, volunteer opportunities. There's a lot on the website, so we would love for you to check it out. And then the other thing is you can always reach out to me. I would love to hear from you by phone or by email. I think my contact details will be posted. We have a very open door policy here, whether you're a nonprofit or a potential donor or a friend. I'd just love to hear from you. If you have any advice about the direction we're taking, that would be great too. Email me, call me. And if you would like more information, you can also request a copy of our annual report, our inaugural annual report, actually. So.
Wonderful. Well, this has been a ton of great information. Thank you both so much for being here tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for tuning in this evening to our last live chat of the year. If you've had a good experience with the Portland Clinic Doctor, or you just want to get involved, please consider saying thank you and donating today. If you're interested in future chats, please follow or like us on Twitter or Facebook for updates. On behalf of the Portland Clinic, I'm Kris Benware. Thank you for watching, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Tuba Christmas, huh?
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
I was there myself.
Oh, you were.
It's
yeah.
a lot of oompas.
There's something about a chorus of tubas bouncing off those buildings